So that bottom elevation is what you would see from 800 North. And then the south elevation and the west elevation. And again, there would be two of these. The appendix would also will also include this map you see here. This is Area A, which would be the existing orchards, and then the project where the offices would go would be Area B. And as mentioned before, Area B would be strictly used for office only, and that would be written in the text as such. And this is the text changes you see here. So we would add 6530 professional office to the permitted uses. Again, that would be under Area B. Again, anything in red would be either a addition or a strikeout to the current ordinance. Also be reducing the setback from 40 feet to 30 feet. That does get the buildings further away from the residential to the south. By requiring that, they could push it up closer to the street. We'd increase the total area from 9 acres to 12 acres. And then we would be amending where the building orientation goes. With the office buildings, you can see on the elevations, every side pretty much looks like it's a enhanced side. Some buildings you get where, back sides of buildings may not have as much architectural features or elements. The office buildings here would have all of those elements on each side. We would add access to 1000 East. And then any site plan that comes in would have to comply with the Appendix RR, which would be that concept plan we just looked at, would be the building elevation we just looked at. I don't know if there's any future development possibilities on the orchards. I kind of did a quick count of parking and square footage, and I'm guessing there's probably not any room for any future building pads at the orchards unless the parking ordinance is reduced.
Question from the commission?
So the parking on Area B,
B.
is governed by what's already there for zone, right?
Right, the Area B will park by itself. All the office parking will be able to stand on that property. There will be cross-access easements into the orchards. And of course, you may get people that may park over there too and walk over, but the the offices will be able to park entirely what they need.
What they need there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We go back to the first page of the ordinance. E1, I'm being nitpicky here, by the way. You've got 40 and 30 feet, but you don't have the 4 crossed out in the...
Oh, actually it is. It's just the line on the 4. It's there.
Oh, it is there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not to be
I
picky.
didn't think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
there.
didn't see
You're
it
right. Didn't want that to say for
We could change the font maybe to make that show up better.
there. Or color.
The
Fireman's.
The entrance from 800, that's the same entrance that exists right by the gas pumps.
Right, you can see here,
Yeah.
and that would be widened if necessary, but there is that entrance right there. And they will widen that a bit when the site plan comes in. That will be the access into the orchards, and you can then turn left into the office development.
Why the text change from 9 to 12?
Because right now the PD4 zone is maximum at 9 acres, and that's what's there now.
Okay.
So obviously we're adding 3 acres, so we've got to increase that to 12.
At 12, okay. I wondered if that, something like that. Okay.
So this is a separate owner, Danny,
Danny Mason is the applicant, yes.
and the reason, because restriction of what can be built there is because he can't from.
Well, I think the owners of the orchards, they were happy to cooperate with developing this property as long as they didn't see any kind of competition, if you want to use that for their retail. Obviously, they've got interest in that retail, the retail establishments that are there now. And so they're fine if as long as you do office, because they are allowing an access through their property into this property. So it's kind of an agreement between the two.
Okay.
And speaking of agreements also, there will be a development agreement between the city and the applicant. And we just need to, when you go for, if you choose to approve this, recommend approval, that at that time, the development agreement will need to be worked out prior to this going to the city council.
Okay.
Is that last lane that's going in there, is that going to be a right turn lane that's closest to the office buildings where it comes to 10th East, or where we?
You're talking about
Is the highway going to expand to 3 lanes further down?
you're talking about 1,000 East on the east side of the.
On 8th North, heading towards 1,000 East, right in
Okay.
front of that building number 2. It shows a third lane there.
Yeah, you see the gray there. Can you see the gray on your?
Yes,
That'll
going to be a deceleration.
that'll be area that's widened on 800 North.
Okay.
I guess what I'm asking, though, when you get right in front of Harmon's there, it forces that outside lane back into 2 lanes.
Yeah, I'll let Paul.
Let me try to answer.
Yeah, may,
That arrow that you see down towards 1,000 East is actually not a through lane. That's actually a right turn lane.
so it'll be a right turn only.
Yeah, that arrow should be a right turn lane, not a through.
Have longer to merge, though.
So there's a right turn lane right there right now.
Sure.
Again, the shaded area, kind of the gray area on 800 North was what was proposed to be some widening so that if there's an access, if there's a new access there between the 2 office buildings on 800 North, then there's also some area to decelerate into that new access point. And what UDOT wanted to do is if that access goes there, then they basically wanted to start the widening back by the Harmon's driveway where the gas station is and just straighten out the curb to where the existing right turn deceleration lane is at 1,000 East.
Any future plans from UDOT below 10th East there or 9th East or wherever that goes, the 2 lanes?
Future
To your knowledge?
from UDOT, probably 20 to 30 years out.
It's a ways.
So as long as we get some good building setbacks, they're fine.
Sure, sure. Other questions from the commission? Is the applicant here? Would you like to step to the podium and your name and place of residence or business?
Name's Danny Mason, and I live in Alpine.
Okay. Anything that you'd like to add to what's been presented here?
No, it's done very well, but happy to answer any questions.
Well, that'll be the next. Any questions for the applicant?
And you feel good with this agreement that's being made?
Yeah, we've got a few things just to detail before it goes before the council, but very good. Yeah, it's been well done.
Okay.
They're nice looking buildings.
No.
It looks like it'd be a nice development. So
Yeah,
nice looking.
we feel that there's a dearth of Class A office, so a lot of the young kind of startups that want a little bit more up-to-date Class A office are probably leaving Orem. That's a hypothesis that we believe is true. So the idea is to keep them here. So
That's good.
Yeah, a lot of startups have started here and then
they,
move on. Yeah. Been a lot of that. Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you.
thank you.
We'll open up the public hearing. If there's anyone here that'd like to speak to this subject, come forward. Your name and city of address. Or city of residence, geez, excuse me. Seeing no one come to the microphone, we'll close the public hearing and come back to the commission. Any other comments, questions?
This is the right use for this little spot.
I agree. It seems to fit. To me, it's a place that's been lacking and waiting for that. And the subdivision's going in behind it. They knew it was coming. They put up I think the wall's there, isn't it, behind it? Yeah, the subdivision put up that wall. So, and that's coming along quite quickly, too. That's amazing, that subdivision. Well, do we have a motion? This is a recommendation. I did look that up this time.
I can do that.
Okay?
I will make a motion that we send a positive recommendation to the city council amending the Orem general plan use map by changing the designation from medium-density residential to community commercial at 1000 East, 800 North. Number 2, amending section 22-5-3A in the zoning map of the Orem City Code by rezoning property from the R8 zone to the PD4 zone at 1000 East, 800 North. And 3, amending section 2219-1A and the appendix of the Orem City Code by enacting Appendix RR. And 4, amending section 2211-16 of the Orem City Code pertaining to development standards of the PD4 zone.
Steve, do they need to put that through the development agreement to have that a part of them? Okay.
That can become part of the city council, can it? Okay. David's made a motion. We're all grateful you made that motion. Do we have a? Yeah, that was a big one. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and Carlos is seconded that. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 5-0, excuse me. Approve. Item 3.3.
Item 3.3 is a sign zone map amendment as well as a text amendment. So this will be amending section 14-1-4 and section 14-3-3 of the city code pertaining to sign development standards and the sign zone map for property approximately 56 North State and 85 North, 400 East, and to take that to what's we called a sign zone F. Right now, the city would like to install, or from the Recreation Department, that would like to install a sign that would advertise Senior Center, the Orem Senior Friendship Center activities at the City Center, the library, whatever it may be. They want to put a sign out on approximately 400 East and Center Street at that intersection, the northwest corner of that intersection. The city can put a sign up there right now. By the ordinance, we have the right to do that. However, the sign cannot be electronic. They would like to put in an electronic sign for you. That's kind of the trend now. Where signs are going to is electronic. You can change the message quite frequently. You can make a better sign, in my opinion. But the city can't do that right now. They can put a static sign that has changeable letters. You go up there, change by hand. It can be lit up with lights, but it just can't be what would be called an EMC, an electronic message center sign. And so the city would like to make some changes to the code, we would create a sign zone F. And that sign zone F you see at the bottom there in the red would be the text that would govern sign zone F, which would allow a freestanding monument sign 8 feet high and 50 square feet, and that EMCs would be permitted in that F zone. So the property that the F zone would cover would be basically most of the city block you see there in the orange. Along State Street right now, along portions of 100 North and Center Street, there are existing sign zones right now, sign zone A, which governs the types of signs that can go there now. The city could put up a LED pole sign out on State Street if we wanted to right now, or a monument sign if we wanted to right now. But the portion you get once you get behind approximately where the court building is, the sign zone F would then be placed on that property, which would then allow the city to put that sign out there on that corner.
Questions from the commission?
A question, the 8 top of the sign?
That would be to the top. That would be the maximum. Doesn't not necessarily say the city would go that high, but that would be the maximum height. That would include, and monument signs now too, you can't just put 2 poles in the ground, put a cabinet between those poles. Monument signs now have to be built on a pedestal or a base. You can't see the interior support structures. So the sign has to be dressed up. So that pedestal or base, that's included in the height as well. So you're probably not going to get 8 foot tall of pure sign as it is. It will be smaller than that, most likely.
About that wondering how tall it would be.
I also have a question. If it's 50 square feet and they decide to do 2 sides, does that divide in half?
No, it'd be just like any other sign per side. They could do 50 feet per side.
Okay.
Now, whether the Carl Hurst wants to put that sign perpendicular to Center Street, perpendicular to 400, or just have one sign face towards the intersection, I don't know at this time.
Thank you.
0.3 lumen light. Does that mean that it's going to dim? It's going to dim at night?
And this is the thing with the EMCs; those can be controlled.
Automatic, or how does it work?
I'm not sure of the complete setup, but I know that you can sit at a computer and control how often the message changes. You can make it go static at night. You can turn that brightness down. It could depend on the sign that's there as well. If you have, white lights, yellow lights, sure, that's going to be brighter at night. You can tone those down. If you have darker blues or greens at night, of course, those are going to be a little more subdued.
Right.
But you can control how those are broadcast.
Questions? Again, the applicant has spoke. I guess we don't need the applicant to speak, do we? This is a public hearing. We'll open up the microphone. If we have anyone here that'd like to address this issue, please step forward. Seeing no one come forward, we'll close the public hearing and come back to the commission for comments or a recommendation or both. Do we have any other comments about that? I mean, I'll just make a comment. I think it's something that's needed. I know this originally kind of started off with the senior center, did it not? And
No.
and if it was, go ahead.
Right, yeah, but being on the city property, then the city could advertise library events, they could advertise, planning commission Wednesday night.
Yeah, city council meeting, the pool,
Right,
the rec center, all the things that we're all involved with.
city functions.
Yeah, city functions.
That's good.
Yeah, no, and like you say, with these modern signs, I do know the software on these electronic signs is capable of being set for times to calm the sign down, for lack of a better word, and sometimes it can even just follow what the sunrise sunset is, kind of like a phone does anymore. So, do we have a recommendation?
Yeah. I'll make a recommendation that we forward a positive recommendation to the city, amending section 14-1-4 and section 14-3-3 of the Orem City Code pertaining to sign development standards, and amending the sign zone map of the Orem City Code by designating property generally at 56 North State and 85 North 400 East as sign zone F.
Carlos has made a recommendation. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Karen is seconding the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 5-0. Item 3-4, and this will be Brandon. Should I have called you Clint? This is your last one. Make it good.
My last one. Get to do this so rarely. This item is it's a public hearing. It's a proposed annexation petition. This is for 25 acres at approximately 650 west, 2000 south. You'll recall it's adjacent to the previous Lakeview addition annexation that the city took in last August. The applicant is Paul Washburn, representing a number of property owners down there that have come to the city requesting to be annexed. Your recommendation would include amending the general plan by designating that as a light industrial land use that we've identified as part of the southwest area plan for those uses, and to zone that area, or to pass on a recommendation to zone that area in the M1 zone. So you can see this is the site, again, just west of I-15. The area lies between the two sets of train tracks there. This is the Union Pacific line and then the UTA tracks. It's about 25 acres. 100% of the property owners are in support of annexation. We've met with the property owners, and they're willing to do that. This area, as part of that annexation, if it were to be, or when that were to be developed, if it were to be annexed, would be subject to the impact fees that we adopted as part of the last annexation in this larger impact fee service area. So through some kind of a development agreement, that arrangement will be set up where those property owners would contribute impact fees in return for getting those services, sewer, water, stormwater, et cetera, to their sites. We've worked with transportation to be able to provide a single access. There's a county road that you can kind of see through the middle of the site there that would be paved. We've amended the zoning ordinance to allow the continuation of a single dead-end road with cul-de-sac bulbs throughout there to provide adequate access. And so we feel like we've addressed most of those concerns with how this would develop into the future. This is looking at the site from 2000 south. One issue that we were made aware of relatively recently, was that there's a number of uses and structures and activities going on those properties that we were not aware of, and that the county was made aware of. This includes illegal structures that have been built without permits, including some residences, and there are people living down there. There are a number of livestock animals, some businesses, and we believe some other activities that are going on down there. You have vehicle storage, you have construction material that's been dumped down there. So just a number of activities. I've gone down with our neighborhood preservation unit a couple of times and looked at those sites. Here's some samples of some of the things that are going on down there. These pictures were taken this afternoon. You can see, like I said, there's everything from plywood and scrap wood structures with tin roofs to trailers with lean-tos built on them. It's interesting. We have worked with the property owners, and we've also talked to the Utah County Zoning, the Utah County Sheriff's Office, the Attorney Office, as well as the Utah County Health Department, and had a meeting last week where we talked about addressing these concerns about removing the structures, removing the residences and those uses that aren't permitted through current county zoning, and that wouldn't be permitted if this area were to come into the city. So you can see in some of these images that the Utah County Health Department and zoning went down with the Sheriff's Office and red tagged these areas. So the property owners have been notified and the tenants on the property have been notified. As part of our discussion with the property owners, it was our understanding that we would still support a positive recommendation for annexation on the condition that this area would be, or that these issues would be addressed, and that these things would be removed before this went before the city council, and ultimately before it was considered for annexation into the city. So moving forward, these are, again, just going through some of those zoning things. This was that southwest area as we looked at that area as a whole and how that area would develop in the future. This area between the tracks where you have limited access, you have potential noise impacts from the rail lines and from the freeway, that area would be best as an industrial use, and that's what the property owners would like to see there as well. So again, we'd be looking at an M1 zone, and that this area would be included as part of this impact fee service area, and that would cover the cost of those new infrastructure services, so there wouldn't be any kind of incurred cost to the city. So, okay, we're good. So some of the advantages, like I said, this area has already been previously identified as part of this southwest annexation area, so it's not a surprise to the city, something we would anticipate would come into the city at some point. It improves the access to that area and provides better development options than what is currently there or what could be there through current county zoning. So we see that as an opportunity to improve this area, and it provide an opportunity to the property owners to develop their property as they see fit. The impact fee-based development for infrastructure does not incur any cost to the city, and again provides better services to these properties and to other areas in the southwest there. The only challenges that we would see at this point is, again, the current violations that are taking place, and we would want to see that those are adequately mitigated before there's any decision to bring this into the city. We don't want to see that being inherited in the city. So those are all the main issues. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Is water and sewer the only two costs that covers with the city? Those impact fees?
No, there's actually 5 impact fees that were studied and ultimately adopted by the City Council. They cover culinary water, stormwater. Now that you ask, there's fire services, park services,
and sewer?
And sewer.
Okay. I mean, that only seems right on an annexation to me to have those impacts because, everything else is built out. We're adding that to city boundaries.
Right. Our thought was we had several hundred acres down there. We just annexed in 225. This would be another 25. So, it's a large area, kind of the last large area that we would see come into the city, and so we'd want a sustainable way to fund those improvements.
If this commission, we'll have this discussion, I guess, but if this commission decided to send this as a recommendation, we just send a recommendation, and then before the city council passed that, would they, as far as having the land clear and all of that, or would we need to make that part of the recommendation? Mr. Earl, I guess.
I'll ask the attorney.
You could do it either way. I think that staff just intends that when we do the agenda summary for the city council, that our recommendation would be to them to not approve the annexation unless the area's been cleaned up at the time they're scheduled to hear it on the 27th, or I'm not sure what the date is, 25th. So you can make that part of your motion, or you don't need to if you don't want
I mean, it seems to me then, as far as a commission, we should be looking at the merits of the land itself, and if this makes sense for the city of Orem and it fits what we think should be done, and just make a recommendation and send it to the city council.
You can do that, or if you want to weigh in on the issue of whether the property needs to be cleaned up first, maybe you feel it doesn't matter, you could just send a positive recommendation without that, or
Okay.
feel strongly, you could add it to your recommendation.
Okay.
And like I said, we've met with the property owners and have made this very clear. They'll have had 4 weeks from that time. They've been sent notices from the county. The tenants have been notified, and we've arranged that we will follow up with this on a weekly basis with our neighborhood preservation officers and with the county to ensure that there is progress being made.
Have you seen progress?
Not at this point. I went down today. Like I said, it's been about a week. The properties have been tagged by the county, so we know that they've gone down and the letters have been delivered. So the tenants are aware and the property owners are aware, hoping that there'll be some movement soon, but we still have a couple of weeks.
And this has been 4 weeks, you're saying?
No, we met
No?
with them last week. So they were.
Oh, just last week, okay.
They received a letter from the county on the 30th.
And then the city council meets on it in a couple of weeks.
On the 25th.
Can I just ask, so I'm looking at some of the pictures that you gave us, and there's some buildings that are built there. No, you keep going. There's,
So those, yeah, I have probably 50 or 60
Okay.
photos. But
so my question is, are the landowners new to the area? Are they new to land ownership? Because I know me building a house, I built one on a piece of property. These are facilities that are built, buildings that are built. Was there no respect or regard on following code, or?
I won't speak for the property owners. I know some of them are here tonight. You could
Because it's a little frustrating to see that this has been allowed to happen.
Right, and those are some of the frustrations that we identified when we became aware of this, and that speaking with the county that they had similar concerns, and those are things that were identified as violations by the county in the letter that they received.
Well then, because now we've got people, I'm assuming, that are living here, right? So now we're going to displace these people who probably didn't know that they were illegally in these facilities. So, yeah.
That's a possibility, but I'm sure we can have maybe the
Well, yeah, I'm
applicant
just
address
making
that.
assumptions.
That might be a better approach
Okay.
when we get to the applicant. More questions for the city? For Mr. Okay, the applicant here. Come on up, and your name and residence or your business.
My name is Paul Washburn, address 825 North, 900 West, Orem, and I'm representing the applicants this evening. There is no question about it. The site down there is not what it should be. I think one of the things that's important to realize is none of the owners were involved in building any of the structures that are there. One owner owns a substantial part of the western portion of the property, actually lives in the Phoenix area and visits here infrequently. A little bit of history on this property. A couple of years ago, they began an annexation request into the city. At that time, the city was in the process of trying to figure out what the impact fee should be, and they actually asked them to withdraw their application at that time until they could complete the process. The property currently is in an agricultural zone in the county. Agricultural zone in Utah County is pretty much the equivalent of saying your property has no use whatsoever. That's maybe a little strong, but not very strong. As we have investigated, one of the structures on site appears to have been given a permit for animal stalls. And it was not the owner that got the permit, but it was actually the person that was renting the property. What they purported to the county they were going to build and what they built seems to be a difference there. None of the other structures that I am aware of ever did get a county permit. Now, I did talk to one of the people down there, and they say they got permission from the county, but as near as I can tell, what happened is they went to the counter, wondered if it's possible to build a structure. We're told, well, yeah, it is, and in their mind, that was a permit to go ahead and build, and that's not right. Since we had the meeting last Thursday, every property owner has been contacted not only by the county, but by the owners of the property. The gentleman from Arizona did come up and spend several days in the area, and we have started the process as quickly as we can to get that taken care of. The owners are anxious to get the property into the city. One of the reasons this property is, I guess, I don't want to say derelict, but that's maybe a good word for it, is there's no water, there's no sewer, there's no ability to do much with the property. And I guess over the last few years, it's kind of spun a little bit out of control, without any question. The best way to get this property cleaned up is going to be to bring it into the city, get the utilities in place. The owners have created a committee to see that this gets done. They have worked out sewer easements going to the west, water going to the east. I think it was mentioned earlier, we've worked with Paul Goodrich on trying to find a way to create a safe roadway through the center of the property that would be able to handle the light industrial use we anticipate. And so we would like to be able to move forward, and we are very cognizant that the cleanup needs to be done before it gets to the council level. And I'm not going to make any excuses for the way it looks right now, but wanted to have you have some kind of an explanation of how it kind of got from the place it was 2 years ago to where it is now.
Are you one of the owners? Do you own part of the property?
I am.
You're just representing them.
I'm the representative, yes.
I think Pat is one of the owners, is she not, Pat Johnson?
That is correct.
Okay.
How many owners are there?
I want to say 7, but I could go in my file for sure, but I think there's 7 owners.
And none of them live here?
No, there are some local owners, but I don't know that they are on the site daily. I mean, they have someone that'll come in and say, we want to rent an agricultural piece, and they may get there quarterly. And I'm not going to make any excuse for the things that have stepped aside, but again, if somebody that's renting the property says, well, I've got a permit from the county, and you look at it, you don't realize, well, the permit was for a corral, it's not for a structure, and certainly no one ever gave anybody permission to, park trailers and campers and try and live on the site.
Are the separate properties, are they sized and shaped in a way that they're going to be okay for business?
Yes. And I don't know if you've got that map there or not, but yeah, all of the properties are very usable.
Okay.
The one thing that will probably happen at a point in time that we come in after the annexation, do some platting, property lines are running directly east and west. And I expect the property owners will probably get together and maybe do some boundary line adjustments so they can make them parallel with the road rather than on a complete east-west axis.
So the property lines are cutting through the road currently, is that what you're saying?
No, but the road goes through the,
Yeah, the road's going north-south.
well, it's running north and south, but not true north and south.
Yeah,
It's on an
angle.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
I forget looking at it. I'm thinking of it as a square piece, but it's angled next to the freeway, yeah.
Angle.
Okay.
There's no reason that they have to make those adjustments, but I anticipate at the point in time they come in to plat the property, those adjustments will likely be made.
Yeah. It'd be to their advantage to work together, there's no
Yeah.
doubt.
Well, and they are all working together now very well.
Yeah.
And I kind of hate to foul up a historic opportunity to get enough property owners to actually get something done right.
Yeah.
It's not as easy to get that many people together as one might think.
Yeah, that's true. Any other questions for Mr. Washburn?
No, I think you add the second part of that, making sure that it gets cleaned up, and if we can expedite this as fast as we can with a positive recommendation, get city council to approve it, I mean, that'll put pressure on them to get it cleaned up.
Absolutely. Pressure's there. They're feeling it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is a public hearing. We'll open the microphone to anyone who's here who would like to address this issue. Your name and address, or city of residence, actually.
My name is Ken Merrill. I live at 1971 South 180 West in Orem. My brother-in-law is one of the property owners, one of the larger pieces, and he does live in Arizona. He is new to property ownership, and so this has been a little bit of a surprise to him what's happened on some of this property. He's gone, he comes occasionally. I say to him, Alan, you got to keep an eye on it. These guys are just kind of making hay down there, literally. And so they've moved more animals in, and one guy will lease to somebody else, and he'll lease to somebody else. And Alan will come back and say, you can't do that. No more buildings. You got to get permits for these. Again, no excuse, but it's kind of gotten out of control. All of the tenants on Alan's property right now have agreed to go. Anything that is not down by the 20th, we will take down and pile up that does not have a permit for it. George Tucker's here, who owns the piece to the north where there are some people living. He might have a little more difficulty because some of these people have locked in a little tighter and aren't quite as respectful, I think. And I might suggest that one solution to this, rather than killing it at the city council, might be to post a cash bond if we're still struggling with one or two owners that we have to do something to get them out. That may be able to say, we'll bring you in, here's a cash bond, you'll have to forfeit that bond if they don't come out. And then that's enough to take care of legal action to get them out if that's the case. But that might be a thought that could solve the last of the problems so we don't throw this away at city council if we're still struggling with some of those owners who kind of have dug their heels in just a little bit, or tenants that have dug their heels in a little bit. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, we will close the public hearing and come back to the commission. Mr. O, would you comment on that, the cash bond thing?
Well, that's the first time I've
Legal
heard that.
counsel, I should say.
That's something we can think about and talk about with the owners of the property. I don't think it's something you need to worry about right now. I have my doubts about that, but we can think about it.
Well, that seems to me that's a little more with possibly, the staff and the city council, not planning.
Right.
Would you bring up, Clint, the picture of? Did I call you Clint? Oh my gosh, I did that again. I got to tell that story. I ran into Clint at Temple Square 2 weeks ago, and was sitting there talking with him. And I see Brandon here. I did it to him a little early. Brandon, I'm sorry. Brandon's leaving us. Maybe that's my payback. Maybe that's what it is.
Hello.
I even circled Brandon down here and make sure I didn't do it again. Yes, this is the picture here. When I look at this picture and I see that yellow area, the green area is what we already have annexed. The city has annexed, not us, but it just makes sense to me. That's landlocked there. It's sitting up next to I-15. Across 2000 South, I believe, is Provo City, is it not?
Correct.
It fits with Orem City, and if the city's covered under the, getting all the fees, the impact fees and that, it seems to me that this makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
I know there's been concerns about that 2000 South Road and the traffic it could produce going, I guess, either way, coming under and up to that cul-de-sac and stuff, or not cul-de-sac, roundabout. It just, to me, seems to fit, but you guys' comments on that.
It's my intent as well that these owners intended to be a part of the last annexation, but something with the paperwork was done incorrectly, and so they weren't able to. So yeah, I agree that this is a logical next step in this southwest area.
I think it should be done. But I do agree that it ought to be. I would hate to bring land in that was already not in compliance. So I think it does need
Problematic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the right use for that piece, and I think it's the right thing to do.
Is that what's blocking the road to the north of that, is that conservation easement? Is that why that road can't finish going out that other side by I-15? Yeah, the north end.
The Lakeview crossing.
The road that goes right down.
The road that goes right down the property and it goes out the north end. Does that easement stop that road from going through that conservation easement?
No, the conservation easement is on the Taylor Farm, which is on the other side of the tracks.
Okay. But it's showing that easement coming off their back side there to the north.
Yeah, the road stops at the Stables. Yeah.
So that road would never be finished per se.
There could be a crossing across the tracks at some point. You'd have to work with the property owners to the north, I imagine, and with obviously UTA to make sure that could happen.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, as long as the city's got it taken care of, and that, you guys have taken care of that with a, big enough turnaround or whatever.
Typically, a new access across a railroad doesn't happen unless you close two other locations.
Yeah.
Where streets cross. So unless we can find a 2-for-1 trade, I don't think an access across the railroad's going to happen.
That's called not in our lifetime.
Also,
I know crossing tracks are pretty tough, getting a road across them. Well, do we have a recommendation?
I can do that. I make a motion that we forward a positive recommendation to the city council to designate 25.53 acres generally at 650 West 2000 South as light industrial on the general plan land use map and M1 on the zoning map of the Orem City Code.
Also about the cleanup somehow. Remember that?
Yes, contingent upon the cleanup of the property. Does that make sense?
He's giving us a nod over there. Legal's giving us a nod. Becky's made the recommendation. A second? I'll second that recommendation. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, well, minutes? Okay, we'll hold off on the minutes. I wanted to mention one thing really quick before I ask Mr. Bell if he's got a moment for us. Brandon Clint, it's been good work with you. Where were you going again? Did I hear just out of the side of my ear? National Parks somehow, but
yeah, I'll be a planner with the National Park Service under the River Trails Conservation Assistance Program.
Well, good. Get some more trails here in Orem. We'd love it. So
Hope to.
Force them through. Make the government give them to us.
There you go.
Wish you the best in that. Wish you the best. And Mr. Bench, happy 50th. Is that today? Did we decide? Today. Well, I know. I was making sure it was today. I thought maybe it happened Sunday and you were just making today it. But, well, happy 50th. Any director's comment after all that?
I do.
Okay.
Just one comment, Mr. Bench. There is life after 50. It's tough, but it's manageable. I think I've given you a little heads up in the past. We've hired a consultant to do the Center Street or the City Center district. Both of those consultants are well underway. We've met with both of them. We're having our first public open house soon, and we'll make sure all of you are aware of that and invite you to those. We'll have a few meetings, some steering committees and stuff like that. We'll always let you all know that those are going on, and you're welcome to come and join in on any of that you're like. But we're excited to get that process going and start moving forward our State Street Master Plan. So just wanted to give you another more current update on that. Hopefully you're surviving our construction season. I know that's a 4-letter word somehow, but it is getting colder. The cones are starting to come down, and you can look forward to next season. So thanks for your patience there. We had a lot of good projects, and we were excited to get a lot of that stuff done. So thanks for your service.
Go ahead.
That first open house for the City Center District will be next Wednesday. That'll be here in the council chambers at 5:30.
Next Wednesday, 5:30.
Yeah, we'll send out an email to you as well.
Is that discussion about this building, is that part of that seismic thing we talked about? Is that part of that? Yes. Okay, that's what I thought. Well, thank you. Do we have a motion to, actually, I'll make a motion that we adjourn. A second?
I'll second.
Dave gave a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We adjourn. Thank you.
Yeah.